Hi, today on the workbench we have a NuTone model NM100, which for those of you who need to know is also the same thing as a music and sound DMC3-4. And we're going to refer to this as a DMC3-4 because that is actually the model that the NM100 is based on. They are identical intercom systems except for the faceplate. So you might wonder why it's called a DMC3-4. It's somewhat clever and somewhat tricky. So a DMC3 would be a 3-wire intercom system, and a DMC4 would be a 4-wire intercom system. And the number of wires is the number of wires in the cables that connect the remote stations back to the master station. Music and Sound had always made 4-wire intercom systems, all the way back starting in the beginning, way back in the 1950s. In the 1980s, the models were things like N300s, there were N150s, N350s, the most popular model, and those are all 4-wire systems. However, Music and Sound was clever in that you could special order a Music and Sound model N350 in a 3-wire configuration. Why did they do that? Well, they did it because all NuTone intercom systems were 3-wire systems. Yes, there were 6-wire systems and 8-wire systems, but that's not relevant to what we're talking about. The most common NuTone systems were all 3-wire systems. So if you could get a Music and Sound N350 from 1988 in a 3-wire configuration, you could sell it to your customer and rip out an old NuTone system and put in a brand new Music and Sound system. And of course, that made the people at Music and Sound happy. So the reason that this would be a Music and Sound model DMC3-4 is because it can be adjusted to be either used in a 3-wire installation, replacing an old NuTone system, or in a 4-wire installation, depending on how many wires you have in your house. Also, the DMC3-4 and the NuTone NM100 would be referred to as a retrofit system. You wouldn't necessarily use either of those models for a brand new installation in a brand new house being built, because then you would use a DMC1 or a NuTone NM200, which are all 6/8-wire systems that use Cat5 wiring. Cat5 is phone wiring. So these were referred to as retrofit systems. So why do we care about any of this? Both of those models have been discontinued for a while now, and it's unlikely anybody's going to be installing a new one. However, it does come up periodically. The reason we care about it today is because of a fellow named Jeff. Jeff contacted me recently. He just bought a house that has a Music and Sound DMC3-4, and the previous owners told him, yeah, Kate, we had to put in the house to replace an older system, and it never really worked, or we don't really understand how to use it, and so it is what it is, and deal with it. So he contacted me to see about what it would take to get it repaired, and I told him we need to do a little bit of basic troubleshooting first to make sure that it's not some kind of installation problem, because when people tell you, yeah, we had it installed and it never worked from the beginning, sometimes it could be an installation error. So one of the things I had him check were on the back of the unit, and this is going to be upside down, and we will zoom in, there are little jumpers, and the jumpers have to be set to the right spots to make it either a 3-wire system or a 4-wire system. And as it turned out, in Jeff's house, he had a 4-wire installation, but the master station jumpers were set for a 3-wire installation, and that the technical terms for it is jacks up how the intercom works. So let me show you where the jumpers are, and then we'll talk about how you set them and also some other details that have to do with this. So we're looking at the section of the board. Let me zoom out for a minute so you can get a better idea. So we're looking at what is the left-hand end of the master station. If you're looking down on it, this is the left. And this is actually the bottom of the unit because I have it upside down so you can see it better. If I turn it right side up, then this would be at the bottom. So there are these 4 pins here, and there are also pins down here. Now let's zoom back in. Now you can see better. So on these pins down here, you can see there's these little black jumper boxes. And if we take our needle nose pliers and we can slide these off, and we'll put them on the workbench because you're going to need them. You can't have a set without any jumpers at all. Then it's a 0-wire system. I don't know. Then nothing's going to work right. So you have 4 connectors here, 4 pins here, and 4 pins here on the bottom. And if the jumpers are on the bottom connections here, then it's adjusted for a 4-wire system. If the jumpers are down here on the side of the board, then it's a 3-wire system. So in Jeff's case, the jumpers were in the wrong place. So all you have to do to put the jumpers on is pick them up carefully, because they are very small, and you simply use one jumper across 2 pins and the second jumper across 2 more pins. One of these pins is actually bent slightly, so we'll straighten it out. And now it should go on, just like that. Now with the jumpers down here on what would be the bottom connection, this is now set for a 4-wire system. If we move them back to the side jumpers, like this, now it's set up for a 3-wire system. See how easy that was? This is something that could commonly be overlooked by an installer who's not really that familiar with the equipment. Alright, now I have the set sitting right side up again. You can tell because the writing on the labels is the right way, except for the writing for the antenna connections, which is now upside down. So, I don't know, somebody wasn't paying attention when they put the labels on. So this is where our remote station wiring would be connected. Now the thing also to know about is, so you could use it in a 3-wire configuration, or you could use it in a 4-wire configuration. Now, the other tricky part is there are 3-wire and 4-wire remote stations. I actually have some personal experience with that because a long time ago, probably 15 years ago, I was called out as a NuTone service center on a newly installed NM100, and the complaint from the installation company was it doesn't work. So we went out there to see what was up with it. And indeed, the radio worked fine, the door chime worked fine, but the intercom didn't work correctly. And because the NM100 and the DMC3-4s have somewhat of a sketchy reputation, we assumed, and since it was a reliable installation company, it was somebody that we knew of and they had done a lot of intercoms and they had experience, so you would figure they did the installation correctly. We figured it was a bad master station and we contacted NuTone and they sent us another one and we went out and replaced it for the homeowner and it was the same. And that was kind of odd. And we were trying to figure out why is the case, because the odds of getting 2 bad master stations in a row on the same installation, not very likely. So we started looking into it in more detail, and what we discovered was the installation was an upgrade of an older NuTone 3-wire system, 3 wires. And yes, the installer did move the jumpers correctly, so it was set up for a 3-wire system. However, when they had ordered the equipment from the wholesale supplier, they ordered 4-wire speakers. The boards on the back of the remote stations look almost identical. The only difference is they have an extra connection, but they're all labeled the same way. So unless you were a super experienced installer and had done many installations of those stations, you would easily miss it. So we had to call the installation company and tell them that it's not an equipment related problem, it's an installation related problem because your wholesaler got you the wrong remote stations. He wasn't that happy. He thought that NuTone should take care of it for him, and NuTone said, no, because it's the wholesaler's responsibility, or if it's what you ordered, then they gave you what you asked for, so it's all on them. So you do have to have not only the jumpers set correctly, but you have to have the right remote stations also. Otherwise, it's not really a complete system and it's not going to work correctly. I hope you found this interesting, and perhaps for someone it will be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, And when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications. And every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.